Just want to mention a special welcome to Dr. San Sultan, a member of our broad Baltimore Orthodox community, who happens to also be a University of Maryland transplant surgeon who is here tonight and will be available to answer questions after the event as well. A special thanks to Councilman Yitzi Schleifer and Captain Jurg from the Northwest Division and Chaverim for assisting with crowd control and the traffic control. I know it's been challenging to find a parking spot, and again, appreciate everyone for making it out here tonight. And finally, a special thanks to Avram Klugman for setting up the audiovisual needs for tonight's event. I believe it's quite apropos to have this event in a shul. And I say that because this event was really the brainchild of a mispalo and a rav. It was the communication between Rabbi Yossi Ryback together with Rav Eichenstein Shlita, who thought about different ways to bring kidney donation, the awareness of the kidney donation to the community. Rabbi Eichenstein didn't just sit aside and listen to Mispal go through his difficulties and his condition, but he really thought, how can we push it to the next step? How could we make the community aware? And after further discussions, he approached Dovi Ziffer, who really has taken a tremendous amount of time and effort. Some consider him an operations logistic whiz to bring everything together. I can't tell you how much time he spent on this event alone. And Dovi Ziffer approached Bikur Cholim of Baltimore, and together with several board members and our executive director, this whole event came to fruition. So big yasher koyach to them. This also comes at an opportune time for Bikur Cholim, as Bikur Cholim is now positioning itself to open up a patient advocacy arm that will address as much as possible all of the medical needs that patients in the community have. Not only food and visitation and transportation, but our objective is to really help people navigate through any kind of medical illness, medical crisis, either out of the hospital or in the hospital. And this is one of the first events that we'd like to say we're proud in hosting, to be able to provide the community with those kind of services. Before I introduce Renewal, we're honored to hear from Rav Moshe Hauer, who will share some introductory remarks to tonight's event.
A few days before Tisha B'Av, somebody sent me an email with a story about a rabbi in New York who was giving an altruistic kidney donation. They sent it to me because I talked about it a little bit, because a member of our shul and community was about to have a donation, make a donation a few days later, and I looked at the story, and I recognized the person in the story, Rabbi Avram Hoffman. His mother lives a couple of blocks away, and she's been a member of this shul and a leader in this shul, Mrs. Ruth Hoffman, for many years, a wonderful, wonderful lady. And my first instinct was to pick up the phone and to call her and to give her a yasher koyach hanachas. And then I caught myself. I said, I wonder if she knows. I don't want to break it to her. And sure enough, a few weeks later, I think it was Shabbos Mevarchem Elul, maybe a week later or so, her son, Rabbi Hoffman, shows up here. And I said, wow, I heard about what you did. You look very good. He said, yes, Baruch Hashem, I'm feeling fantastic. I'm feeling fantastic. And I came here to Baltimore to tell my mother what I did. So then, and only then, I called Mrs. Hoffman. And she said in her charming way, she says, my son did something very nice. I'm very proud of him. But I told him, I said, Avram, before you give away any other body parts, please call me. We're not here tonight to talk about an obligation that anybody has. No one has a chiyuv, an obligation to give a gift like this. Now, the Ramban writes in Parshas Kedoshim at the mitzvah of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you should love your fellow man like yourself. The Ramban writes an astounding comment, in a single word. He says, hafloga. He says this is a language of exaggeration. After all, Rabbi Akiva, the great promulgator of Ahavta l'reacha kamecha, he taught chayecha kaidmin. Your life comes before somebody else's. Nobody has an obligation to give this kind of a gift. But some people do, and some people take the vision of Ahavta l'reacha kamecha literally. We are in awe of being in their presence, and we know the gratitude, the intense gratitude which all who have received this gift of life feel. I'm going to ask for just a moment for those who are here in our audience, the recipients, the donors, to please rise and to be seen. This is a night of education. We should see each other. We should know who we are. We should have people who we're able to speak to. I'd like to ask recipients, Mr. Harry Burston, Mr. Yitzchak Friedman, please rise, Mr. Moshe Langer, Mrs. Eve Messing, Rabbi Yitzchak Friedman, Moshe Langer, Mrs. Eve Messing, Mrs. Sarah Schechter, Rabbi Eliyahu Tendler, and Rabbi Tzvi Tusk. If you would. Thank you. I would like to ask the donors who are here with us. Mrs. Sherry Bauman, please rise. Mr. Yossi Burstein, Rabbi David Finkelstein, Mrs. Miriam Jacoby, Aryeh Langer, Ronnie Pacino, Elisheva Rabinowitz, and Freda Schwartz. And if I could please ask if there are any other donors or recipients who are here whose names didn't make it to our list, if they would also please rise as well. Friday night, we're going to start Yom Kippur. We're going to say a pasuk. We're going to say a verse a few times. Or zaru al atzadik u'liyishrei leiv simcha. Light is planted for the tzaddik and for the yishrei leiv, for the person of the straight heart. There is simcha, there is joy. In many svarim, it's written that there's a difference between a tzaddik, the righteous person, and the yishrei leiv, the person of the straight heart. The tzaddik is the person who drives through whatever difficulties, whatever challenges, whatever doubts, whatever tests, and does the right thing. The Yishrei Leiv, the person with the straight heart, doesn't have any challenges to drive through, doesn't have any questions or complications to overcome. The Yishrei Leiv, the straight heart, just sees straight ahead. Or Zarua Hazayrim Bedima, we plant with tears, Li Yishrei Leiv Simcha. For the Yishrei Leiv, it's straight and simple joy. One of the donors who is here is a good friend of mine, Ronnie Pacino. He donated on Erev Tisha B'Av. He donated his kidney to give someone the gift of life. And I think to myself, and I laugh, we had a Shabbos here during Sfira dedicated to kidney donation. I gave a big fancy speech about it. I gave a shiur about it in the afternoon. All that discussion, I don't know if it convinced the soul of anything. I don't know if anybody's ever convinced to do a kidney donation. One morning at 6:10, Ronnie's here every day, we have a shiur, and one morning at 6:10, in the shiur, I mentioned that the person had come to me just a couple of days before for need of a kidney, talked about it for like 45 seconds, and after davening, Ronnie comes over to me, he says, maybe I'll do that, but I'm in the middle of tax season, right after tax season. And sure enough, I think 2 days after tax season was over, he was at University of Maryland being tested. He wasn't convinced. Yishrei Leiv. that's the way it appears to me. I shared this observation with others who know more donors. That's why I know Rabbi Hoffman. The person will get life. I can give it to them. I'll just do it. I'm just going to do it. That's the pashtus, that's the simplicity of it. I don't think we can or should convince anybody to do kidney donation. We're here tonight to educate, to just bring it out. And for those who are grabbed by this, who feel that opportunity to give that gift of life, Hashem made us that we would see things straight. We seek many, many calculations and complications. We're not here tonight to get us past the complications. We're here to just open the door for those who are able to see straight to be able to give the gift of life. We are in awe of those who are able to see and act so clearly. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu grant the gift of life to each and every one of us. A Gemar Chasima Tova. May Hashem grant a refuah to those who are specifically the focus of this evening, and to all in Klal Yisrael who need it.
Thank you, Rabbi Hauer. Renewal is truly an amazing organization. I'm only learning about it now. They've helped countless kidney disease patients with all of their medical needs, but they really specialize in finding donors, setting up matches, and providing as much assistance to the donors from the moment they decide they want to potentially match all the way through the recovery period. We invited Josh Sturm, the Director of Outreach for Renewal, to come and address us. He will show a video. We will then hear from a kidney donor, and then he will open up with questions and answers. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you. It is a distinct privilege and an honor, really, to be here in front of such a wonderful audience. I have to tell you, first of all, a tremendous thank you to all of the Rabbanim for coming out and really lending their support, because it takes the approval of a Rav to really push a Kehillah to sometimes do something like this, to put together an event like this. And certainly to the Baltimore Bikur Cholim, I am so in awe and impressed by everything that you have put together here. I speak in a lot of different communities, a lot of different venues, and this is amazing to have an audience this size and this dedicated. It is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and really speaks to the amazing work that the Baltimore Bikur Cholim does. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to talk a little bit about kidney donation, but first we'll show the video. But before we show the video, I just want to preface my remarks with one idea, and this will be, as the video finishes, this is going to be my introduction for Rabbi Moshe Gewirtz, who is a kidney donor, came here all the way from Marlborough, New Jersey, on a train this afternoon. A wonderful individual who donated his kidney quite recently. To a lady. He'll go through all of the details of his story. But one thought that comes to mind, we are right now, Ben Kesela Asor, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and during this time of year, this is the time when we are so moved to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the wonderful things we understand and appreciate, how precious life is. And this is the time that motivates us to ask Him for a wonderful year, for a year of good health, a year of all wonderful things. And then we ask Him for life, because that's the most basic, but the most important, most fundamental of all of our requests. God, please grant me another year of life. And we have to think to ourselves, what am I bringing to the table? I'm asking Him for all of these wonderful things. What am I offering? What have I done in the last year that qualifies me for being able to ask for all of these things? But there are individuals here in this room tonight, and so many individuals here in this room tonight, that can come to the table and can say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I gave life with your help, of course, but I offered my kidney to somebody in order to be able to save a life. It's a remarkable thing when you think about it. The tefillah of a donor, I can't imagine. We should all be so lucky to be able to daven Yom Noraim with a donor in the shul, to be able to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all of the wonderful things when they have done that act of giving somebody life. Because that's literally what they're doing by donating a kidney, is they are enabling somebody else to get a second chance at life, to live a life, a productive life, and with their family. And we'll go through some more of the details in the next few minutes or so. But right now we're going to see a very short video that was put together by a Jew in the City in connection with Renewal. It's a very powerful video that highlights some of our donors. And then after that we are going to hear from a wonderful special individual, Rabbi Moshe Gewirtz.
Good evening, Baltimore. B'shus D'Rabbanan. Baltimore, the Baltimore community has a reputation worldwide as a community of chesed, of giving. And all of you have come out here tonight for this important cause, are perpetuating this shem tov that this city has. Ashrei Chalchem. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I hope it could inspire some of you on about the wonderful journey that I just recently went through. I work as a rabbi, not a job for a good Jewish boy, but that's what I do, in a Kiruv community in Marlborough, New Jersey. Baruch Hashem, life is great. I'm married. I have 5 wonderful children. My Yaakov, my Nechama, Batsheva, Yisrael Meir, and Avrami. Well, 5 years ago, I lived in Lakewood, New Jersey, and I saw an advertisement for an event just like this that was taking place in Lakewood. It was in a Hatzalah garage. And I had seen the signs all over town at times. This person needs a kidney, that person needs it. And it touched me, but I thought, I'm not that guy. Not me. Well, they were having this drive right up the block, so I figured I'll go to the drive, but I don't know if I had much intention to give a kidney. I went into that room, and there were a number of medical doctors over there. There were past donors. And I learned a lot that evening. I learned that this is one of the safest operations, very, very safe. And you would have thought you were in a yeshiva in Bnei Brak, a Ne'ilah, the way people that barely knew Hebrew were crying out. That evening energized me. I was so excited to do what I was about to do. Comes 2 days later, time for the surgery. I get into the car at 4:30. And just so you know, he's in this room. There's a tzaddik. His name is Menachem Friedman. I don't know where he is now. But he doesn't let you just get into a car and go to the hospital and navigate the hospital yourself or even meet you there. He picked me up for the day testing, and he stayed there the entire time, pre-surgery. And there he was at 4:30 in the morning, again, to take me to the hospital, showing me every nuance that I needed to know, and every doctor knows Renewal. If they say something has to happen, something happens, and things happen. I get to the hospital, we're signing in the papers, and Menachem comes over to me with a stack of papers. And Menachem hands me the papers that my recipients' kids wrote to me. Here's one of them. I couldn't read it at that time. I actually only read it after the surgery because I was crying from emotion just seeing those papers. I knew what they were. But I read it after the surgery. I'm just going to read you one of them. I thank you so much for saving my mother's life. My 12th birthday was 2 days ago, and you gave me the best gift. Be'ezras Hashem, my mother will be healthy for my bar mitzvah. Hashem should give you and your family good health and hatzlacha in everything, David. I got ready for the surgery after I saw that. I go in for the surgery. I can't describe the surgery. I was out. But after the surgery, it was painful. I have to tell you, it was very painful. But just like someone who's trying to build muscles, they go to the gym. Is it painful? Yes, it's painful. But the pain is joy because they have their goal. I had the strangest feeling in my life. I was in more pain than I ever was in my life, I believe. But I loved the pain. The pain was joy. I was like, bring it on. This is saving a Jewish life. Every stab of pain brought me actual joy, a feeling that you can't imagine. That night, I saw one of the most touching things that I've ever seen in my life. It worked out that my wife and others were not available that night to stay with me. So I mentioned it was a very difficult night. Maybe someone from Renewal said that they'll come to stay with me. And you're sleeping half the time. At 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, a Hasidic younger man, someone who I would have never crossed his path from a skver, sits down in a chair, and he's just waiting for me to wake up. And I wake up, and he says, I came here from Skver just to be with you, a past kidney donor. And he comes and he sits down, and he gives me a box of chocolates that says Mazel Tov. And I needed one or two things. I was maybe up for 10 minutes in the middle of that night. I was pretty out that night. At 6 o'clock, he tells me, I have to go to Daven Shachris in Skver, go back on the bus for 2 hours, because I have a job to do. I thought to myself, wow, Mika Amcha Yisrael. This guy traveled for 4 hours, slept, he had a few kids, he told me. His wife let him go, a past kidney donor, just to be with me for 10 minutes during the night to help me out, and he had to be at work the next day. It was so amazing to become part of this club called Kidney Donor Club. And over the next bunch of days, one after the next, Hasidim, mainly Hasidim, but other people also, past kidney donors, came to visit me. We became one family, bound together by this amazing experience. And they each shared the same sentiment, one after the next. If only I had another kidney, I would love to do it again. Because when you go through this experience, where you're giving for somebody else, the simcha, the self-satisfaction is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Whoever has the schus to do this, the joy cannot be described. We just said in the parsha, Ki ha-mitzvah hazois, asher noichi mitzavcha hayoim, loy niflesi hi mimcha, v'loy rechoika hi, loy bashamayim hi lemar, miyala lanu hashamayma v'yikacheha lanu, v'yashmienu asav na'asena. This commandment that I commanded you today, it is not hidden from you. And it is not distant. It is not in the heaven for you to say who could send to the heaven to us and take it for us, so that we can listen to it and perform it. There's a machlokes. Is this referring to the mitzvah of tshuva or any mitzvah? But no matter what, there's three important questions on this pasuk. Or two important questions. It says, Ki ha-mitzvah hazois, this mitzvah. Why does it say this mitzvah? It should say, especially if you learn it's going on Kol HaTorah Kulo, all of the mitzvahs. And why does it say mimcha, from you? Isn't this a commandment to every single Jew? Why is the Torah speaking in singular form? So I saw a beautiful answer based on Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who says there are three things that hold back people from doing the right thing. Number one is they say, who am I? Who am I to do it? There are other people that could do this mitzvah. This is not for me. So the Torah is saying, no. Mimcha, you. And some people say that there's so many mitzvahs to do. Why do I have to do this mitzvah? Not just why me, but why this mitzvah? And the Torah is saying, don't look at it like that. Look at it that there's no other mitzvah out there. Right now, you have to do this mitzvah, hazais. And the third thing that people say is, it's too hard, it's too far away from me. And the Torah is saying, no. It's not far from you. It's right in front of you, the mitzvah. It's here in front of your face. You just have to grab it. And I'm looking around the room, and all of you have come out tonight for this very, very important cause. And I'm just thinking, who was the first group of Hasidim that started giving their kidneys? I don't know. I don't know who they are. But they decided to do it, Nasa Libam to do it. And they created in the Hasidic world a revolution. There are so many Hasidim that have come forward to give their kidneys. And this person thought he was saving one life. But he was saving so much more, the inspiration, and it just became everyone. A Hasidic guy told me, everyone knows multiple people in their community that have given a kidney. The same thing happened in the Syrian community. I met from the first, but it became the trend to do. People realized this is not rechaika. This is not too hard for me. This is something that I could do. We're in Baltimore tonight. Think to yourself, is this something that I could do? Is this something that's for me? And if it is, come forth like a lion. And if it's not the time now, maybe later in your life. But come forth. You have your hand to start a revolution in this community where the people that this is an appropriate mitzvah for, it makes sense in their family life, will say, I could do it, and my friend did it. And may all of us in the Yom Kippur that's coming up be sealed in the book of life. And like Rabbi Josh said, maybe it should be in the merit of us giving the gift of life. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have ushers going around collecting questions. If anybody has any questions they want to submit, I have a list of questions that were submitted ahead of time that I'm going to go through. But if anybody has questions, there are ushers on both sides of the aisle. Please submit your questions and we will get to as many as we can. I'm going to just read off the list of the questions that have been asked so far. The first question was, can living donors still have children after they donate a kidney? This is obviously something that is a very important answer, a very important question to be asked. Many of our donors are, the truth is, let me give you a little bit of background about the demographics of our donors. Donors range in age from 18 years old all the way up to 70 years old. That's the general cutoff. What I will tell you is that we have pushed the envelope. Just about 6 months ago, we had a 71-year-old lady that donated her kidney altruistically. And there are places that continue to push the envelope even a little bit past 70. On the lower end, I will tell you that we actually do not take kidneys from 18 years old. I know nothing personal against any teenagers that we have in the crowd, but our general philosophy is that a teenager is not of the right mindset to make this kind of a life decision. So we do generally shy away from the younger age. Even 20, 21, we're very hesitant to take a kidney from a younger person. But certainly when they get into their mid-20s and 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we need kidneys really from all different demographics. A 25-year-old kidney is not necessarily appropriate for a 75-year-old individual. So we'd like to have a balance and kidneys coming from all different age ranges. So with that said, the question of having children is certainly a question that's very important to many of our donors, though certainly not to all of our donors. Let's talk about it from both ends. We have let's start with the men. Actually, we'll start with the women on this one. As far as a woman donating her kidney and having an effect on childbearing, so there are, I will be honest, there are some increased risks for a lady donating her kidney and having children afterwards. The risks include things like preeclampsia. The risks are very small, but they are there. And that's why if we have a family that comes forward, and let's say a father needs a kidney, and we have sons and daughters that want to get tested, we'll go to the sons first. Even though the risk is small for a lady, why should we take on any risk if it's not necessary? But I will tell you that we have had a number of ladies that have donated and Baruch Hashem have gone on to have wonderful, successful pregnancies. We've had recipients that have received kidneys and gone on to Baruch Hashem have wonderful, successful pregnancies. So to answer the question, for a lady, the risk is there, albeit a small risk, but there is a risk. For a man, there's generally speaking no risk, at least that I am aware of. I want to preface all of my remarks by saying that anybody here who remembers 9th grade biology, please raise your hand. Yeah, I thought so. That's the extent of my science knowledge as well. So I just want to preface everything that I'm saying is just based on our experiences at Renewal. Certainly should not be taken as definitive medical knowledge. So in terms of a man, again, there is really no risk in terms of having children afterwards. Let's get to one of the questions that was just submitted. How long is the recovery after kidney donation? And please describe the recovery. That is an extremely important question, probably the most important question that can be asked. And that is, again, what am I doing? If I'm volunteering to do this, what are the details of it? So I will tell you that a donor is in the hospital typically for about 2 days, and the recovery, as Rabbi Gewirtz said, there is pain. Nobody will sugarcoat this. There is definitely pain involved. They will give you pain medication. Most of our donors take the pain medication. We have some cowboy, usually on the men's side, that decide, I'm not going to take any pain medication. That doesn't work out so well. But they do take the medication. And most donors, they give you a prescription to take medication afterwards. Most of our donors never end up filling that prescription for pain meds afterwards. It's usually the 2 days that they're in the hospital that is certainly the worst. After that, and they're home, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks on average. Every person is different, but on average, it's about 2 to 3 weeks of recovery, meaning 2 to 3 weeks till they're back at work. It depends on what their job is. A person who has a desk job and is on the computer all day can get back to work a little bit quicker than somebody who's doing construction, might take a little bit longer. So it is a surgery. It's under general anesthesia. The procedure for the donor is approximately 2 to 3 hours long. And so there is definitely recovery that is done. With that said, today's surgeries are done on the donor side. Over 95% of them are done what's called laparoscopically, which means they make a few little holes, sometimes a single point, but a few little holes. They insert the instruments. It's like playing on a Nintendo. They're able to navigate through and figure out exactly where everything is and take the kidney out. Your kidney, anybody who's thinking of kidney donation as a weight loss remedy, I'm sorry to tell you, your kidney is only about a little bit bigger than the average fist. Weighs about 3-4 ounces. Not exactly a weight loss remedy, but it is certainly. So again, there is pain, a little bit of pain, or significant pain involved in those first 2 days. The recovery again is about 2 to 3 weeks of not any strenuous labor. Ironically, we have a lot of men that volunteer for kidney donation before Pesach and the Yom Noraim. Go figure. No strenuous labor. Yes, thank you. So it is. That is the typical recovery. It's nothing that is crazy, but there is definitely a recovery involved. Again, about 2 to 3 weeks till they're back at work. Most donors describe 1 to 2 months until they feel as if nothing happened in the first place. So until they're totally back to normal and everything is good. By the way, in many cases, it's amazing. The bria is amazing. In many cases, the kidney that you have, the one remaining kidney, expands, enlarges to accommodate the extra functioning that it's going to do, which is wild. Let's talk a little bit about the swab tests. We are here tonight for 2 wonderful individuals, for Rabbi Ryback and Rabbi Lassen, and it is a tremendous opportunity here to be able to help them out specifically. And we have in the back, we have people who are volunteers, and I thank the volunteers who are there to swab the cheeks. All it takes is a simple swab of the cheek, but I want to explain what that means. Many people are familiar with Gift of Life with bone marrow. With bone marrow, they ask you, everybody in the world should get registered for bone marrow. You know why? Because the odds of you matching a bone marrow patient, or a patient in need of bone marrow, are extremely, extremely small. There may be a few individuals in the world that have the same type that you have that it would be a good match for. And so therefore they want a database that has everybody, because you never know when you're going to need a specific type. Kidney donation is actually very interesting in that it doesn't require a great match. You have to be the same blood type, and then within the blood they measure different antibodies, antigens, different things in the blood without getting into too much scientific detail, but a few different markers in the blood to make sure that a person is really compatible and that recipient is not going to reject that organ. With that said, if somebody came into Renewal and wanted to donate to anybody on our list, and we have unfortunately over 300 people on our list, if they wanted to donate to anybody on our list, I would say that there is virtually a 100% chance that they would match somebody on our list. So if somebody wants to do it, there's a very, very good chance that they can do it. To match a specific individual is obviously not 100%, but the odds are not bad to match. And in this particular case, both of their blood types are very common and very easy to be able to match. So if somebody has a thought that this is something that they may want to do, I encourage you to get swabbed. If somebody has no thought whatsoever that this is not something I'm going to do, it doesn't pay to get swabbed. But if you have a thought process that, I think I would be willing, you're not committing yourself to anything by swabbing, but you think that this is something that is for me, get swabbed and we can be in touch. If you think, like many people, it's fascinating, but this is the first time I'm really hearing about this, I need to think about it a little bit more, great. Take my card in the back and contact us. Any call that comes into Renewal is strictly confidential and pressure-free. What I mean by strictly confidential is the recipient does not know if there is a donor testing. Not only do they not know the name of a donor that's testing, they don't even know whether or not there is a donor testing, which can be very frustrating for the recipient. But we do it to keep the pressure off of any donor. So the donor has the ability to be able to back out at any point in the process, should they want to. And we encourage them to know that they have that ability to be able to back out. It has to be zero, pressure-free completely. And again, 100% confidential. So anybody who's interested, please get swabbed or take my card. We'll mail you a swab kit, and you could do it on your own and send it back to us. They're very, very simple. It takes about a minute and a half to do. Very simple process. And that'll tell us if you are compatible with one of these two individuals, or if you wanted to donate to somebody else as well. If once these two individuals have their transplant lined up, God willing, we can arrange for that as well. Let's address another question. Can one match to more than one person? And if so, does a donor have a choice of who their kidney goes to? Very good question. The answer is yes. Because the compatibility is not that difficult, you can match to 30 people on our list. And if you match the 30 people, you can tell us who you want to donate to. We're not going to give you names, but we can give you some information of a person. We can tell you that there was a lady that called. She wants to donate. Do you have any children on your list? Unfortunately, we do. It's very, very difficult, very sad. But unfortunately, we do have children on our list. And I had a lady, I want to donate to a child. I can't imagine a child suffering on dialysis, suffering like this. I can't imagine it. I'm a mother. I can't imagine it. And we tried to match her up with one of the children. She wasn't a match. She said, well, you know, I'm a mother. I can't imagine a mother struggling with this and going through this. Do you have any young mothers on your list? Yes, we actually do. Unfortunately, we do. We have all ages, all demographics. And we tried to match her up to that. Not a match to that, to her. At that point, she said, you know what, just give it to anybody. I got to get this thing out of me already. Baruch Hashem, we were able to find a match. So you can donate to anybody that you want to donate to. It's called we believe that the same way if I'm writing out a check for $1 million, it's my choice who I want to give that check to, which charity I want to give it to, which tzedakah. It's your kidney. You have a right to decide who you want to give it to. Again, we won't give you any identifying information, but a type, a specific demographic. We've had people that call up and say, I live in such and such a community. I know you can't tell me any details, but can you tell me, is there somebody in my community that needs? I want to give to somebody in my community. And we'll go into our database and we can find it. So the answer is definitely yes, you can choose who you want your kidney to go to. Financial considerations. Great point. The donor never once has to take out their insurance card. There is no insurance information taken from the donor. The recipient's insurance covers all of the costs of the transplant and the procedure itself. With that said, there are other expenses that are involved in donating one's kidney. For example, most people are working and they're going to have to take off time from work, as I talked about before. That's where Renewal steps in. Renewal is there to cover any and all of the ancillary expenses. Expenses such as loss of wages, expenses such as transportation. We'll fly donors to different centers. We will take care of those things, donors and their spouses. We will take care of their stay in the hotel if they're not near home. We'll take care of all of that, food, any of that. We also cover things that don't cost us a lot of money, but are so appreciated. When a young parent donates, to have a little bit of extra help, cleaning help around the house for a couple weeks is very beneficial. It doesn't cost us that much. To have food for meals every night for a few weeks. Also very, very important. By the way, I have to give you one very key difference between when we have a young mother and a young father donating. When a young mother donates, they need all the help that they can get. When a young father donates, the house runs totally as if nothing happened. True stories over and over again. we are there to help. Renewal believes that there should not be any financial obstacles whatsoever to donating one's kidney. You are doing an amazing, amazing thing. There should be nothing that's standing in your way. We are happy to cover all of those expenses. And by the way, it's all private donations that we receive. That's how we operate. And we have financial donors that they want a part in this. Some of them, we have a lady who donates a nice amount of money. She wants more than anything to be able to donate her kidney, but medically she can't. And at least she says, at least this way, I have a part in it. I feel like I'm contributing, that I'm taking part in it. And therefore, when a donor accepts that money, it's not a handout. They are allowing other people to partner with them. It's a beautiful and remarkable thing. And so again, financial considerations, there are none whatsoever, or there should be none whatsoever. Renewal is there to take care of it. Let's get to a couple others. We did that one. Do donors have priority as a recipient should they ever need a kidney? Great question. I will start off by prefacing my remark by telling you that in most cases of kidney failure, both kidneys go at the same time. So when a person Rahman al-San has kidney failure, both kidneys are gone. And having that spare, if you will, would not have helped. With that said, there are a couple exceptions to that. If a person is, God forbid, in an automobile accident, and it takes an impact collision that takes out one kidney, there are a few exceptions. But generally speaking, kidney failure affects both kidneys. With that said, a donor is given priority on the waiting list should they need a kidney. That's on the national waiting list. We don't have any control over the national waiting list. But I will tell you that at Renewal, we can't make any promises. We don't know where we'll be at that point in time, if that point in time. But I could assume that we will do our utmost to be able to help out a donor. Baruch Hashem, in our existence, we have not had any donors that has happened to, but you could assume we would do our utmost to find a kidney for a donor or a family member of a donor, something like that. Yes, these recipients are also listed over here at the University of Maryland. Donors can decide where they want to go. I just met the doctor from University of Maryland over here. Nice individual. And I'm not familiar so much with the details of the University of Maryland. I will tell you that the relationships we have in New York are very strong, and there's no reason we can't build those kind of relationships here as well. All of the things that Moshe talked about that we can accomplish, so hopefully that we do accomplish in the hospitals in New York, hopefully we will be able to accomplish in the hospitals over here as well, to be able to expedite the process. It's mind-boggling. Some centers, the system that exists, you have some centers that do a lot of transplants, but we won't work with them. Why won't we work with them? Because they don't buy into our philosophy. We have to have a shared philosophy with the hospitals that we work with. What is that philosophy? The philosophy is that the donors need to be treated as the heroes that they are. And that means that the proverbial red carpet needs to be rolled out for these donors. It is unacceptable for anybody to have to wait 4 hours to have their blood drawn. But certainly for a donor, it is unacceptable. They're doing this amazing thing. Not going to happen. The hospitals that we work with expedite the process to do it all in basically one day, all of the testing. They're already taking off time from work afterwards to do the testing, which is a full workup from head to toe. We have to make sure that the donors are treated the way that they deserve to be treated. Another very important thing to mention in terms of, we mentioned finances before, but an important thing to mention is that the recipients by Renewal do not pay a penny. We don't charge anything. Our funding is completely private donations. Not only that, we have had many offers from recipients. We've had very wealthy recipients. Many offers we had a check recently, I believe it was $100,000 that a friend of a recipient offered a patient in need, sent to Renewal. And you know what we did with that check? Usually we just mail it back. This one deserved a personal visit. We went down to his office and we said, look, we understand, we appreciate, but we can't accept it. We do not, money does not influence whatsoever. The patients do not pay a penny. That is not the way we operate. If after he gets a transplant, you want to give money to tzedakah to us, by all means, we're happy to accept it. But before the transplant, absolutely not. And there's no obligation after the transplant. It's interesting. Some of those people do give after, some of them don't. But that's neither here nor there. Yes. Excellent point. There was a couple more questions on here I just wanted to get to very quickly. What qualifies somebody to be a donor? So again, we mentioned the ages before. You have to be in generally good health. You don't have to be a marathon runner or anything like that, but generally good health. No major problems. Even certain red flags are not red flags, but no major issues of donating. If you have one kidney, you cannot donate. So just to clarify that. Okay, I want to mention a couple things that we have going on in the back. In addition to the testing, I have over there cards that I would love for every single person to fill out. We are not foolish enough at Renewal to think that we do this on our own. Certainly, we need the help of the skilled surgeons and nurses and transplant team and the whole centers that we work with. We need all of their help. But of course, as frum individuals, we know that nothing happens without a Kadosh Baruch Hu's help. And therefore, what we do is that on the day of a transplant, we send out an email to everybody on our email list asking them to take a couple minutes out of their day to say a little bit of Tehillim, to have in mind in Rifa'enu, and we give the names of the donor and the recipient, and usually a quick short bio about each of them if they want. And we ask everybody to say Tehillim on their behalf or to have them in mind in Shemon Esrei. And so I encourage everybody, it's on the where the testing tables are, I encourage everybody to fill out one of those little cards with your email address on it to be added to that list. Additionally, we have on your seats, if you're interested, there is a little card which is actually a Renewal movie that we put out. It's a short film that Renewal put out just 2 weeks ago. A beautifully inspiring movie. I encourage everybody to go and watch it and share it and hopefully inspire other people with it. It is it's an inspirational piece. And additionally, I want to just, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out here. It's so important. We are here to answer questions. We're not done with the program yet, so don't everybody get up just yet. We still have a couple more things, but really it is an honor and a privilege to be able to address this audience tonight. Thank you so much. I'll be in the back afterwards to answer questions along with my colleagues and have a Gemar Chasima Tova, gut gebencht Yor.
Thank you, Rabbi Sturm. As I mentioned, Rabbi Eichenstein was really the brainchild of this event, and it's a big schus for us to have him come and address the crowd and give us divrei chizuk.
I'd like to just take a moment before we close the event tonight to express a gewaltige Ashikoyich to Shar Zayin v'oime b'roisham Yedidenu Rabbi Hauer Shlita, who the koyich of Rabbi Hauer is tremendous as one of our great leaders in our community, but not just in our community. In the Olam HaTorah around the world, the impact of Rabbi Hauer is felt. And when hearing that Rabbi Hauer realized that this was something of importance, really to bring to the Olam, to get involved, I had a certain sense that Mitzvah will be met with Hatzlacha, and Mitzvah we will be Matzliach to find those donors that will be able to step up. As the Beinstein is Megalgen Schusay de Zakai, and Shar Zayin with Rabbi Hauer Oime B'Roisham has been a tremendous shliach many times over, that the brachas come through their hands and through their pu'ulas. On a similar note, I'd like to say Gvali Yashakoyich to Renewal for coming down and for really bringing a renewed element of life to so many individuals. So many broken-hearted individuals feeling that their life is coming to end. And with the breath of fresh air that Renewal has and gives, that gives them a tremendous source of strength to be able to endure the challenges that they have. And their work is amazing. The first question I asked for those people that walked in, which there are two that we know about that have allowed their names to be used, there are two more in the community that asked their name should not be mentioned, and there's a fifth one in the community, which a doctor has notified him already, you should know that you might need a transplant within the next 6 months. And my first question was, were you in touch with Renewal? Which at that point they didn't know about Renewal. And they got in touch, and Renewal was there in a tremendous way to help them out. And Mitzvah Hashem, it'll be followed through with Gewaldige Hatzlacha, with finding a donor and going through the whole process by Hatzlacha. I would also like to take just a quick moment to say Gewaldige Ashkoyach to Dovi Ziffer. At the moment, my father is in need of a refuah shalema. I've been very, very tired with traveling back and forth almost on a weekly basis to Chicago to help out, to be there. And I was trying to figure out how in the world could you really put this together. The people in need are in need, they don't have the time to wait. And they're really calling out to us to really look to be educated. Whether we'll be one of those people that will find that strength to be a hero. I called him up, and as a term that I learned here in Baltimore, he took the bull by its horns and ran with it. And together with Bikkur Cholim, they put in tremendous amount of work and effort and put together a tremendous event and a beautiful event tonight. I want to be Messiah this event with a quick story of a personal friend of mine who I spoke to last night again, just to go through the facts one more time. A very chashuvah rav in Flatbush, which several of you in this crowd know who he is, Rabbi Rekeach, a Tzvi Rekeach from Flatbush, which he shared with me. His wife was going through, his family really was going through a very difficult time. And from one moment to the next, the Baishim helped them out. Everything turned around in a tremendous positive way. And his wife one night went to sleep, and before she was going to sleep, she was thinking of the Gewaldige Milas Chasadim of the Baishim, and she thought, how can I pay back the Baishim for all that he has done for his family? To which she decided, the thought came in, she wanted to donate the kidney. She got in touch with one of her closest friends, the daughter of the Square Rebbe Shlita from New Square, and asked her, can you go into your father and ask him if this is the right thing to do? To which she responded within a couple hours, I was in by my father, the Rebbe Shlita, and he said you should go forth with it. And don't worry, everything will be okay. With that, she came back to her husband the next day and told her husband, you know, I decided I really would like to donate a kidney. Her husband looked at her, are you for real? Donate a kidney? When did this all happen? Where did this come from? To which she responded, I really would like to show my appreciation to the Rebbeinu Shalom by donating that kidney. So as a loyal chassid of the Square Rebbe, he decided the only way to deal with his wife, that already had it set in her mind, was to go to the Rebbe, maybe the Rebbe could help. So he traveled down to New Square, enters in after waiting most probably a short while, as he happens to be a Square Rebbe's a cousin, and he enters into the Square Rebbe, he says, Ich weiß nicht. Something came over his wife, and she decided she wanted to donate a kidney. And he's just not at peace with it because it's just not normal. To which the Square Rebbe said, it's okay. The Eibishers are healthy, and there should be many more not normal individuals that will rise up and be ready to give their kidneys to help save other Yidden. Realizing that he lost the battle with his wife and lost the battle with the Square Rebbe, he realized there's a term in Chazal, Mashiyasa Seichel Yasa Azman, the Baal Musa bring down. So he said, no, let me push it off as long as I could. So he turns around to Square Rebbe, tells Square Rebbe, we're about to make chasana. Perhaps we could wait until after the chasana. Square Rebbe says, no, I don't think so. Ask the doctor if she could be at the chasana, if she could go through the surgery and she'll yet still be able to be by the chasana. To which he realized the game is over. He said, fine. And went back home and told his wife, I give in. Go right ahead. The Rebbe said, you should do it. I'm going along with you. I'm ready to join together to make it all happen. So she went, the surgery was scheduled for July 14th. June 29th of that year, she went for pre-op bedikas, tests. And those tests came back that she was not a candidate to be able to donate her kidney due to the fact that they found a tremendous growth in her body. Scared by this new piece of information, he decided to travel to Mayo Clinic to see by the doctors over there if they could help him out. They did a biopsy and saw Baruch Hashem was a benign tumor. However, that tumor was the size of a grapefruit. And the doctors explained to them, you should just realize that if you have continued on without going through any bedikas, there's a very important vein in that area around the kidney which was compressed 75%. Your wife could have gone to sleep one night and never woken up the next morning due to the growth growing and compressing it close to 100% with that bring about death. Chavei v'yedidai. We see a gewaltige Sach from the Sipper. We know in the Hamish world there's a terminology, ayi dafton edaf nish oifton. We have to come together to want to try to do. And when we see, even if we can't be that individual that actually is able to come forth with doing, but there's one thing we could show the Rebbeinu Shalom. We want to get that education. We want to see perhaps, could we have that strength or not have that strength, which we'll never know if we never went for that education. Put in that effort to see, to be knowledgeable. What is it that it takes in order to make an educated decision? We see a gewaltige nekuda as the pasuk tells us. U'pnei mishal ochiv el kapoides v'hoyu pnei hakruvim. Tells us the pasuk, as the Heilige Zayda Rabbanu Godefroy Kalin says, U'pnei mishal ochiv, when a person is not self-centered and he decides, he puts himself into a mode to think about someone else, to care about another individual, you should know Ela Kapoidis, it brings a gewaldige kapara to this individual and for Klal Yisrael at large. And with that finishes off the Zayda. That's Ma'oira gewaldige shefa of bracha. And that brings out a gewaldige shefa of atzlacha for this individual. Ma'oira v'rabaisai. We're here tonight to become educated. The education we got tonight is very preliminary and not really that much. There's one thing we encourage. Try to find out more. Go away from tonight for those people that have been thinking about it for a while and really have the strength to be those heroes, to come forth. The kids are available in the back. But for those people that's the first time they're hearing about it, which I'll be honest, I'm from those individuals, which just over the last couple weeks is when I started to hear about this more and more. Let's get more educated. And let's see if this is really something for us or not. I want to be Messiah with a gewaldige Rekeach. The Rekeach tells us the Torah Kedosha begins with the letter Beis and finishes with the letter Lamed. Tanakh begins with the letter Vav and finishes together with the letter Lamed, which brings us to the words of Lev Loi. Let's give our heart to those individuals. Let's show them that we care. Let's show them and come forth with wanting to find out more about this, and with that perhaps we'll have the siyata d'shmaya of the effort that's being put in. Those donors will find the strength to come forth, and that will be zoichet to see the ultimate gula. The Eibishter is a helfin. We shall all be zoichet together for gemar chasima toive, and the effort we've put in, and we shall learn tonight. Just the effort itself brings a gewaldige bracha. And we shall all see a gemach chasima toive and a good gebencht yom tech gesund panas anachas.
There are light refreshments, light refreshments available in the social hall. There's a testing station as mentioned. For those that are very interested and have already made the decision, there's also University of Maryland applications that one could fill out, especially for Rabbi Ryback and Rabbi Dr. Moshe Lassen. There will be Rabbi Sturm and his Chevra from Renewal is also available for answering any questions, as well as some of the kidney recipients and donors and finally, Dr. Sultan from the University of Maryland transplant team. Good evening. Thank you very much.